people each side, left or up.
Dispatch response 6. I've just received a call that November 1 South, if you can send our second vehicle to go investigate for us, please. Unfortunately, we in the industry of not everyone surviving. Obviously, we do our best to make sure that they do, but inevitably there's going to be times where people don't make it. You're forced to grow up really quickly to deal with real life things that most people are not exposed to. Most people at age 24 have never seen someone that's been killed. They've never worked on someone that's dying. And like, we have a huge responsibility that we take on our shoulders to try to do the best we can for someone. And I mean, a lot of the time there is only so much we can do. And for the parents, this is the worst day of their life. For me, it's another day at work. As hard as it is to say, if we sat and kind of stuck on every single person that we worked on who didn't make it, you'd be an emotional wreck. Like, it would affect how you do your job for the other people who you can help, who you can make a difference, and who you can kind of get to hospital and get them out on the other side, you know. MVA, looks like 2 vehicles involved. For those who have children already, I feel like once you've got your own child and then you see a kid who's hurt or whatever the case may be, it's a lot more traumatic. Sometimes the calls where like kids are neglected or like young kids who are involved in sexual assault and things like that, that hits really hard. And I mean, that's not a physical thing that we can just fix. And I mean, we've all trained and studied and whatever to try to get there and like be able to fix things. And I think sometimes what the hardest thing is when we're not able to fix it. Stabbings, motor vehicle accidents, motorbike accidents, sports injuries, shootings, any of the protests that go down, mob justice. People that get hit by a car, heart attacks, strokes. The law in South Africa is that as a paramedic, if we go to someone that's in need of help, regardless of how much they can afford and stuff, regardless of that, they should receive treatment, and they will receive treatment from us. I didn't study finance. I studied to treat people, and it's for us to do is treat patients. If you can't pay, that's kind of the risk that a private company takes in opening an emergency service. I need you to do a full secondary check if there's perfusion in the leg at all. Our bags always packed the same way. We always know where stuff is. Like, we try have a way that there's a lot of the stuff that we're going to need to use is set up already so that I can do it without even thinking about it. Because the more stuff that I don't need to think about, the more stuff I can think about. And there's a lot to think about, especially if you arrive on the scene and you're the first one there, and there's a lot of patients that need to be seen to. There's a lot of decisions that aren't necessarily medicine decisions that need to be made. And they're probably just as important as the medicine, like the medical decisions that are being made. A lot of people do struggle to speak to someone else because they don't really have the insights. They don't understand what you're talking about. They've never experienced the same sort of emotions, the same feelings. To speak to someone who understands both like the clinical and medical side of it as well as like the actual feeling that you're going through. That's something you don't really get anywhere else.
You put me on too.
Just check that breathing.
Five suspects have been arrested and one firearm was recovered.
It's the same. We got to make sure it's the same treatment for everyone. They're just a suspect, and at the end of the day, that's still a person, regardless of what their story is. It's still a person, and our job is to make sure that we look after them and do the best we can for them. We have specialized like stroke centers, cardiac centers, trauma centers, and we can't always just take whatever patient we find to the closest hospital. And sometimes that is misunderstood because people are like, oh, there's a hospital right here. But that hospital is not equipped to deal with what we're trying to manage. And it would be better to take them to a hospital that's maybe 5 k's further away, but is a better facility for what's going on. To other people who have not had to go through this, it's kind of like they've never had to experience that. They don't know how bad it is, how bad it can be, you know. I don't know how else to explain that. Like what this job has taught me is that life is vulnerable. Like a lot of people wake up in the morning and go to work and don't realize that today is the last day that they're going to go to work. Like humans are, as robust as we are and as like resilient as we are also super vulnerable. I've only really had 1 or 2 people that have died in care with me. I mean, obviously our job is to make sure that that doesn't happen, but unfortunately sometimes it is inevitable. We're not miracle workers. We kind of are doing what we can and what we know how to do, but sometimes there is nothing we can do, unfortunately. That's a huge contrasting like thing. It's difficult to always remember that. This is the worst day of their life. For me, it's another day at work. But we have to. We have to remember that my job is someone else's worst day.